Hello there, I'm Dan Goldstein, and you are watching Clean Skies News. As the cleanup from the massive oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico continues, new questions are being raised about the future of ultra-deep water drilling. The Transocean rig was drilling nearly a mile under the ocean. Will the disaster put the brakes on this type of deep water exploration? Nearly 3/4 of the drilling in the Gulf of Mexico is deeper than 1,000 feet. Joining us to talk about this topic is James Pappas, Vice President of the Research Partnership to Secure Energy in America in Houston. James, thank you for being here.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
First of all, let's look at this, especially as we exhaust onshore and shallow resources. How critical is deep water drilling to the industry and to world oil demand?
It's absolutely necessary. Most of the production that we're seeing that's coming from, as far as oil production is concerned, that we're seeing is coming from the ultra deep water. That's where we're seeing the increases, and we're going to continue to see them, I think, notwithstanding this temporary halt that we've seen.
Now, much of the passage for our viewers in the Gulf of Mexico, much of the expansion of deep water drilling came after the passage of a Royalty Relief Act in 1996, which forgave a lot of royalty payments to companies, private companies that is, who were willing to drill in deep water. Do you expect this to be scaled back after this disaster?
Well, actually we expected it to be scaled back before this, but we think that certainly it'll be looked at again. There's a distinct possibility that it could be repealed or cut back to some extent. The actual reason for that was obviously the oil prices were so low that the economics weren't there for companies to chase after the larger reserves. Prices have gone up, and so have the costs of doing the business. But by the same token, the technology development that has occurred, all in all, I think has improved the opportunities for companies to find oil and gas so that they can bring it to the consumer at a reasonable price.
All right, I think that leads to a question, though. I mean, at this point, most Americans have seen the risks of ultra deep water drilling and the inability, for example, to get the blowout preventer activated deep underwater 5,000 feet, the failure to get a containment dome secured. Is the technology of the safety devices perhaps not keeping up with the depth of the drilling?
You know, that's hard to say because we don't know exactly what's happened in this particular case. The one that you're talking about, obviously, is the Deepwater Horizon issue. And we have to think about those people that were killed because that's first and foremost. This industry has always taken safety, especially recently, taken safety to be at the highest priority and is very proud of the record. And it's disappointing, obviously, of what's happened in many respects. First and foremost, the loss of lives. But beyond that, the environmental issues do concern us in the industry. I think as they do everybody, rightfully so. As far as technology is concerned, we feel that we've got a handle on it, but obviously things are happening that we don't quite understand or we can't quite deal with. Whether these things can be remedied, I have faith in science and in technology and in being able to solve these problems. It's just going to take time. We've got some of the finest minds in the industry and outside of industry that are looking at this, as a matter of fact. So we're going to handle this problem and we're going to learn from it. And from this, we're going to take care of this business one way or another.
But I think most Americans are probably asking, do the risks of deepwater drilling outweigh the rewards?
I think that's a valid question that people need to ask. The fact of the matter is, as you stated before, that we need as much energy as we can get. This is one of those types of energy. Oil is something that the country needs, and there's a direct relationship on wealth of the country, of any country in the world, to the amount of oil and energy that it has. And since we don't have enough energy, we have to look at what the economics tell us. And the economics tell us that we're going to need to do this. Now, the risks that are involved with this obviously are high at times. There's risk of loss of money, which shareholders tend to have to deal with. But there's also the risk, as we see, of safety and environmental issues that happen from time to time, though thankfully not very often. I think my personal belief is that it is worth the risk because we really have no choice at this point than to continue to pursue that. The only alternative that we would have in the short term is to try to import more oil, which is going to cost more money, and at this point could lead to more instability. So we have to get it from where we can find it with the least overall cost and the least risk.
Last question, what kind of changes do you expect to see in the industry going forward technology-wise, both in the technology of drilling and also safety? Some of the things we've been talking about are these acoustic switches that are mandatory in other countries that can activate a BOP, blowout preventer, remotely. Would Congress say that now these acoustic switches are mandatory?
I like the question. I wish I had a definitive answer for you. Since we don't know exactly what's happened, we don't know if acoustic switches would have helped. If for example, the blowout preventers cut out completely, acoustic switches would have done no good anyway. So in that case, that's not necessarily going to help. That said, it's possible that Congress could dictate that we have to add that. There's a possibility also that we might have to add a second blowout preventer, perhaps one at the surface to go along with subsea ones in deep water, in ultra deep water, to be able to solve this problem. And we do have the capability to do that. It's going to cost more money, which means it'll cost more money at the pump and anywhere else we use oil. Beyond that, there's other technologies, such as drilling further out from a platform that would tend to cut costs and risks associated with something like this. There's also safety improvements that we can see that are outside of the realm of what we're talking about right now, that are being developed as we speak by my company through our assistance and the assistance of others in industry, as well as outside of the industry. There's things we can take from other industries, such as the medical industry and perhaps the aerospace industry, that we might be able to utilize.
But bottom line is the world is going to go ahead with deep water, ultra deep water drilling, whether we do so in the United States or not, correct?
That's correct, Dan. It's going to happen, and we need to take advantage of it as much as we can so that we can control our own destiny as much as possible.
James, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you.
We've been talking with James Pappas, Vice President of Technical Operations for the Research Partnership to Secure Energy in America, or REPC, in Houston. I'm Dan Goldstein, and you've been watching Clean Skies News.